Welcome to Tallis TV. I'm Luke.
And I'm Sam.
And this is what's on the show.
Moved to the new building with Capita taking over, obviously we had to get every piece of every student's work off of the laptops and online, otherwise when they re-imaged the computers and set them up so that they could manage them, we'd have lost everything. And that process took such a lot of lesson time and was really quite stressful.
So we re-imaged every single MacBook in the school for students over Easter, and you didn't even know it had happened.
Because everything was being downloaded from the network in order to run on the laptops were ridiculously slow.
What people didn't necessarily comprehend was that no matter how good a wireless system, when you're dealing with files the size that you deal with, you don't use wireless.
Yeah.
You never use wireless. If you go into a professional editing company, they won't be doing it on wireless. They would actually have the next cable up from us, which is fibre optic.
And what we did was campaign very strongly in order to try and get all the media arts and photography laptops to run locally. And the first company that Capita contacted in order to deal with the Apple Macs weren't able to make that happen for us. And it took Capita quite a while to find a second company that were able to make that happen. So from November to April, we had an awful lot of teething problems that meant students were waiting a really long time to download work, or that software wasn't running because it would appear that the laptops were saying it wasn't capable of running.
If, for instance, my mouse goes dodgy, I can just, either with my phone or phone up, just log it, and if I really need it, I'll put an urgent notice on it, and within 10 or 15 minutes someone will come down with a mouse and replace it.
Another new addition to our new school are the new school links.
But are they safe, or are they an improvement to the new school?
I think they're quite good. It was a good idea, but I think they could have made it wider, because when you come out of lesson it gets really packed.
I think they're too open, you know, you get wet if you go outside in them, and they're the only access you have to other buildings across the school.
I personally don't like them much. I'm not too impressed with them.
I quite enjoy them because it's where we can slide with this work.
They're really handy to get into lesson to lesson.
I think they're a good way for the students to get from block to block actually. I think that it stops congestion time from going into the bottom of the building. So in that sense they are quite practical.
On a day when it's raining, it's cold, it's windy, it's wet, they're awful, they're dangerous, they're just not nice at all on days like that.
I think they look great. I think they are not very practical though.
I don't think they're safe, and I don't see why they did it in the first place, because every time it's raining they're just closing it off, and when everyone's having to go to the bottom floor to get out, and then it just gets really packed from there.
Yeah.
There was a range of different views about the new school links, but we caught up with the man behind the new school transitions, Mr. Dean, to find out his view.
It would take a year to get used to this building and get some of the problems sorted out, and we're only really just 6 months in. So,
Not only has Thomas Tallis moved, the Ferrier estate is now being regenerated into Kidbrook Village.
But has the new school building affected the Tallis community?
Tallis TV investigates.
Do you feel that the community has changed coming over to the new school?
I think elements of the community have changed because any environment, built environment, will affect the quality of the relationships and the nature of interaction between people. I think some of it's improved. So I know the number of spaces that I teach a subject where I was in 5 different parts of the building, whereas some areas were in central areas. So the fact that I work in a subject area that now has a central hub where all the lessons are in the same place, that's good.
It will take time for it to feel more like Tallis as old, because the character probably does. The building doesn't have as much character as it did, the old one did. So it will take several years, I think, to get that feeling back.
I think the kind of sense of unity that we had in the old building, and there was something even kind of spiritual about the old Tallis. I think there was something very unique, and it was more of a feeling.
The new building's better in ways like
to get into
the old.
classes.
Yeah, the old school was a bit like scruffy on the outside, but this school's like really nice.
It was a really run-down, crap building, but it was Tallis.
I think because we're in a bigger school, the community feels a bit more stretched out. I mean, there's members of staff now that I just don't see on a regular basis. So I think that's had an impact, yeah.
I think having less made it a better school, to be honest, because everyone worked together. Now it's sort of all the sort of teamwork and that's sort of gone because we've got all the equipment to do it all for us. So I think there's no sort of all getting together now and working as a team.
Yeah, because we don't really see many people around here, do we?
True.
Because it's so big.
It doesn't feel the same as the old school. You can't really use anything. It's still new and we don't own it, so it doesn't feel the same.
I mean, I hardly see anybody compared to what I used to see in the old school. So in that sense, the community has changed, but in a general perspective, when it's a break or something like that, the community do come together, and it does seem to work well.
So it seems like that the community has changed, but has it changed for the better?
All communities change, they evolve. The community when I started amounted to about 800 souls. The staff was less than 100. Obviously, having worked in the old building for nigh on 30 years, you get used to it. It's like wearing an old pair of slippers. You get used to it. It doesn't mean to say that the slippers are good for your feet. Now we've got 250 staff, and we'll soon have 1,950 souls. So yeah, it will change, but it's the people inside it that make the change. It's become a bigger community, and what I think it can't lose is what it stands for, and that is for people.
So it seems like the community has changed, but the spirit of Thomas Tallis will always remain the same and never go away.
Wait until October, November in 2012, and then I think you'll see the difference where people have really settled down.
Well, that was his opinion about the new school links. But what do you think? You decide.